Well, hello there, friends, lovers, and thank you for joining us. This is 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy.
Nasir.
And you, and we're glad you are here. Good to see you in the chat.
And we're home, as opposed to last time when we were in Boston.
We're in Studio Nasir. We are back, and with the full rig and all the equipment, and, well, we'll talk about that. And I'm dressed in black. Very unusual. I don't have my usual white hat, but, I was in vacation mode. I had to change things around a little bit. Today is July 13th, a full week after OCON 2025. And this is July 13th, the 194th day of this, your best year yet. Hope this is your best year. It is the best year yet. We're living it. We're enjoying it. It's adventure time. 171 days left, 171 left of this magnificent year. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about politics, but not much, just the right amount. Christmas is in 165 days. That Halloween thing in 110.
Halloween!
Yeah, 110.
Halloween! There's still, actually, the marketing for Halloween has come much earlier than it did last year. You'll just have to notice that yourself.
Freaking year.
I went to Bath & Body Works today, and they had their Halloween line out already.
Oh, just shoot me now. Okay, yeah, great.
So happy.
Excellent. There are still 71 days left until autumn, the fall. The fall. I don't know. Are you ready for the fall that started late last year during the elections? No. The fall, the autumn, the time of year, if you are north of the equator, that tells you things are going to cool down. You've got 100. You've got 71 days left of this magnificent summer that we are all enjoying. Until that September 22nd, the autumnal equinox. And hey, on this date, the New York City blackout of 1977, July 13th, 1977, what is that, 48 years ago? I don't know, anything that's less than 50 years ago seems recent to me, but New York City blackout, lightning strike, causes a power blackout in the city of New York. Now, if you've been to New York, you got to think about this. City of New York, nighttime, there's a lightning strike to the power system, and there's a blackout in much of New York City. Imagine that happening now if the city went dark. Well, if you've read Atlas Shrugged, you've probably thought about that. City goes dark. Well, in 1977, back in the 70s, led to a night of widespread looting, vandalism, arson, and nearly 4,000 arrests. Became known as the Night of Terror. Let me look at the stats here. There were 4 deaths, 550 injuries, 4,500 people arrested, $3 million in property damage, and 1,616 buildings either looted or destroyed because lightning strikes in New York and the power goes out for a while.
That's not cool.
Why do I bring that up? Well, those who have joined us for 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir know why I bring it up. I can't imagine that happening. I can imagine trouble.
Yeah.
You think of the kind of, window smashing and looting that we saw during, for example, the BLM riots. I can imagine a bit of trouble. I can't imagine in 2025 if New York City went dark one night, 4,500 people arrested, $300 million in property damage, several deaths, arsons. Oh, Greg. Greg in the chat says, this is Detroit you're talking about. New York is the heart of civility, right? Detroit has come back some.
Yeah.
And I think Detroit would be all right, too. My point is, I remember the 70s. I remember the 1970s and the early 1980s when, New York was crime central. And you didn't want to be walking around at night, at least not alone. Much better now. So many things are much better now. We don't realize how good we've got it unless we look a little bit at history. But that's the only on this date I'm going to do, besides some birthdays.
I'll say back in 2003, we had a regional blackout.
Yes.
In Michigan and New England and this whole area. And I remember everybody was really good to each other for 3 whole days, and everyone helped each other. It was great, actually. It was wonderful.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
That includes Detroit.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because the 2003 blackout, some of you, those of you in the Northeast United States will know, that was regional. It wasn't just in Michigan. It wasn't just in Detroit. It did hit New York. And yes, in New York, and I read the articles on this in researching my diligent research for this evening's show, when New York went dark in 2003, they did not have the arsons, they did not have the looting, they did not have the building destruction that we saw back in the 1970s. So I'm glad you brought that up. 2003, there was also a blackout in New York City before that in 1965, and neither one of them resulted in the kind of crime that you saw. And I suspect if it happened again right about now, some people would take advantage of it, but it wouldn't be anything like the bad old days of 1970s, early 1980s. It was late 80s when things started turning around. We don't know how good we've got it unless we're willing to take a look around.
And be objective.
Yeah. So the only other on this dates I wanted to mention, well, first of all, there's some birthdays we've got to celebrate today. It's Harrison Ford's birthday, 83 years old today.
Wow.
And we did watch his latest series, Shrinking, which was pretty good.
It's all right.
I was skeptical at first, the first few episodes. I don't know if we're going to stick with this. By the time we got into it, well worth watching if you haven't seen Shrinking. It's an Apple TV thing, so you got to sign up for Apple TV for a month or two if you haven't already. But Harrison Ford is very good in that. And the guy's 83 years old, still doing his thing very, very well. Of course, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, what we know him for. Patrick Stewart is 85 years old today.
Oh my gosh.
2 years older than Harrison Ford on this very fine date. And I enjoyed his latest too. It's a year or two old now, but Picard was a fun series. Very uneven in the 3 seasons that it was, but in the end it was worth watching too. Incidentally, it's also Jean-Luc Picard's birthday. Born on this date in 2305. I like it.
That's fun.
I like it when they assign the birth date of a given character the same date as the performer who made him happen.
Nice.
Very, very sweet. Yes, it's also, I had 2 others I wanted to mention. It's Didi Khan's birthday. Some of you will remember her as Frenchie from the film Grease.
Oh.
And she's still out there, still around.
Wow.
Somebody who is not around is John Jacob Astor IV. Some of you will recognize the name as the business magnate and super rich guy, real estate developer. He's responsible, for example, for the Astoria Hotel. He was also the richest passenger on the Titanic, which, if you know your Titanic history, had 1 voyage that it did not complete, and sadly, Astor was lost. He went down with the ship. And I mention that because we've been watching, which has just debuted, season 3 of The Gilded Age.
Oh, yes.
And, of course, that would be the era for John Jacob Astor IV. And we're enjoying it.
John Jacob Astor Myersmith.
Yes. His name is my name, too. And The Gilded Age is not perfect. Just the fact that they used the expression "the Gilded Age" as the title tells you something about the, if not the bias of the writers, at least the producers of the show. The show is better than that.
Yes.
It does not demonize the wealthy in the way that the title might suggest. I'm enjoying it. Is it fully respecting what it really took for people at the highest levels of business to achieve success? No. But some of it is there, and it's a very entertaining series, so I do recommend it. And poor John Jacob Astor IV, who did go down with the Titanic at the age of 47. I hope he had a happy life before that. So all the birthdays I wanted to mention that are happening today, but I missed one 6 days ago, so it would have been the day after our last episode. I just want to say happy birthday to Ringo Starr. Peace and love. Peace and love. every appearance that Ringo Starr makes, he always ends the show, the interview, everything with peace and love, peace and love. And I dig it. I like it. If you don't understand why I like that, there's a good article about Ringo Starr in the New York Times. And I've linked to it in the show notes with the unlock code. I have gifted you that article as a subscriber. I can do that. So even if you're not a subscriber, you can read that article and even listen to the person who wrote the article read it, which is kind of nice too, because she reads it nicely. And I think we need more peace and love. I think we'll talk about peace and love.
Yes.
Well, you got to interpret that properly. What do you mean by peace and love? But we'll get there. The last thing about this date, it is Beans and Franks Day. Well, you have National Beans and Franks Day. Okay, if anybody doesn't know that, if you're
to eat a hot dog,
if you're not familiar with baked beans and hot dogs, slice up a hot dog and stick it in with your baked beans. And my question, because we have some of our British friends, including in the chat, folks who are watching, for example, from the ARC UK. Do you ever have beans and franks in the UK, and are they included in the full standard English breakfast?
They would have beans and black pudding.
Yeah, they got baked beans as
mix
part
it all
of.
in.
But is that pork and beans? And if so, are franks and beans an option?
What about bangers and beans?
Bangers and beans.
Yeah,
That would be. I guess
I would
like
eat that.
Beans and franks, bangers and beans. That's good, and good alliteration too.
Alex is in the chat. Do you have bangers and beans?
If it's fun to say, it must be good to eat. And there you go for On This Date. Now, normally we would follow the On This Date section with Robert and Amy Take on the News, a feature that we added a few months ago when Yaron Brook was on the road a lot, and so he wasn't doing his news segments as regularly as daily as he could. And so we decided to take on the news. And we've been doing that every week. And I think once a week might be better than every day. Every day. Just maybe two. I don't know how Yaron keeps his optimism up doing the news every day.
So what are we going to pick from the news that might cover everything at once?
I'm glad you asked.
You have an answer.
Well, I had to be a little creative because Yaron, since OCON ended last weekend, has been home in his home studio.
He's been on a streak.
He's been doing it every day. Now, he takes the weekend off, but he's been covering and next week he said he's every day. Well, then we don't need to do it. Well, let me tell you Robert and Amy's take on the news. First of all, the good news is, yes, we have good news. The first bit of good news is that Superman has beaten Man of Steel, the previous Superman movie, to land the biggest opening weekend for a solo Superman movie ever.
And we have not watched this yet. Jim Ashley on Facebook asks, he's not sure if he's going to go see it.
Do go see it. I've been reading reviews without getting too spoilery or in too many details.
All right.
And the people I trust, people like Stuart Margolis, people like Mark in the John Galtline group.
Yeah.
People I trust are saying, there have only 2 people, maybe 3 people I've read who said, "Oh, don't see this, it's so woke." And the people who are giving it positive reviews are explicitly explaining this is not a woke film.
Yeah.
It is, it's contemporary, it's modern. You will see.
So I guess the answer is yes, we plan on seeing it.
So, did I give a long answer to a short question? Sorry about that.
Oh, no. No, that's good.
Yes, we will be seeing the new Superman movie.
Yeah,
I am looking forward to it. And yes,
good.
It has landed. I love the way they explain this. The biggest opening weekend for a solo Superman movie ever. Solo Superman movie ever.
Nice.
Well, it's interesting that there's a whole category of solo Superman movies. In other words, not the Superman-Batman combination film.
Right.
Solo Superman movies ever. And there have been. There have been a lot of them.
Matthew in the chat recommends it. He said, saw it, loved it. It's not woke at all.
Yes, thank you, Matthew. And that means a lot to me. I'm appreciating all of the reviews that I'm getting that are that are not crazed and oversensitive and triggered.
For anybody in the audience who thinks that woke is good and it's cool and it's wonderful, it really depends on how you define it. If you're defining it as, freedom and individual rights for all, great. Love it. I love it. That's wonderful. Embrace it. If it means just trying to be convoluted in political ways that end up harming other people, I don't like it. There you are. There you go. For a very short answer on that.
Yes. Yeah, we could have a whole discussion of that, and maybe we will. But the other bit of good news is in Paris, they have reopened the Seine, or the Seine. The Seine, the river. They're letting people, here we go, swim.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I heard that they were cleaning it up.
Yes.
And that's the same river that's right next to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And it's just
Notre Dame's in the river. It's right in the middle of the river there.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
So Paris reopens Seine River after century-long swimming ban. Yeah, well, they stopped just throwing all the sewage in there, and you can now swim in the water. It's wonder. So we've got to go back to Paris and swim. If we can swim in the Hudson Bay, in the Bay of Maine, or the Gulf of Maine. Now I got to look that up again. But anyway, yes, if we can swim in Massachusetts, we can certainly swim in Paris. There is some bad news. Somebody who shall remain nameless wants to pass more tariffs. They're going to try to hit Mexico with 30% again. This is getting
so disgusting.
We need a new acronym because taco isn't quite cutting it. It's chickening out and then doing it again and then chickening out again, and
it is.
It's a roller coaster. We need an acronym that has RC in it for roller coaster.
It's like it is a mentally ill monster thing.
Yeah,
it's I mean, so Yaron today, I listened to him. I didn't listen to everything, but he had a good go at trying to explain what he thought of Donald Trump and MAGA and if they had a head, where their head would be.
Who was explaining this?
Yaron.
Oh, Yaron.
Yeah, and Yaron Brook.
I need to listen to yesterday's or the previous show.
Yesterday's, and it was good. He was talking about how they were nationalist, but they were globalist, but they had such a. I really like this. He had a line of logic that talked about how people are basically fed up with politics or fed up with the left, with the right, with everything, and they want some sort of thing that's kind of new or different. And that they've lost a lot of that Americans have lost a lot of confidence in how to approach foreign policy, war, and that we've gone to bat. Like after 9/11, we were engaged in all of these wars. All of our people, so many people of our people died, including a lot of soldiers, combating wars that didn't go anywhere. So it's sort of like. It's the Americans' version of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing if it sticks. That's not what Yaron said. That's my take on it. But it's very haphazard. There's no critical thinking involved, and it's just very emotional. That's kind of where we are right now. Well,
that gets to something I'll get to. Yeah, let me jump right to it. There were two items on my list to talk about this week, and they're related. And the second item is David Brooks' article. Why do so many people think Trump is good?
I have not watched or read that yet, but go ahead.
So Nicholas Provenzo posted it with a guest article link, and that's handy because it's in The Atlantic, to which I am not subscribed. And so if you want to read that article, look for somebody who posted a guest link to it, or see if you can find it posted elsewhere, because The Atlantic will say, subscribe. You got to subscribe if you want to read the great David Brooks, who, of course, is actually a middle-of-the-road milquetoast. Can you even decide if he's a conservative, if that means anything at all, kind of guy? But I really want to answer that question. Why do so many people think Trump is good? Let me read the first 2 paragraphs from the article from David Brooks. There's a question, quoting David Brooks, there's a question that's been bugging me for nearly a decade. Let me stop the quote right there and say, please, when you're writing about the current president, don't remind me that he's been on the scene for a whole decade. He was president, so that's 4 years. And he's president again, so that's 6 months now. And I can deal with 4 years and 6. Don't remind me that he's been around for 10 years. Anyway, back to the quote. There's a question that's been bugging me for nearly a decade. How is it that half of America looks at Donald Trump and doesn't find him morally repellent? He lies, cheats, steals, betrays, behaves cruelly and corruptly. And more than 70 million Americans find him, at the very least, morally acceptable. Some even see him as heroic, admirable, wonderful. What has brought us to this state of moral numbness? And Brooks goes on. I'm going to tell you a story that represents my best explanation for how America has fallen into this depressing condition. It's a story that draws heavily on the thinking of Alasdair MacIntyre, the great moral philosopher, blah, blah, blah. And he goes on to tell you about Alasdair MacIntyre. And Brooks and MacIntyre believe that the problem is that we have abandoned social morals to become too individualistic. We think that morals are for our own sake, for our own happiness. So, where does that leave us when society requires people to act, for example, with honor?
This is why altruism is shit. It is.
To paraphrase, to put a different slant on Ben Baer, who is absolutely right that in the title of his talk at OCON, America needs a Declaration of Independence from altruism.
Yes.
Which incidentally is already available on YouTube. A lot of these OCON talks take weeks, sometimes months, sometimes never to come out. Ben's has already been posted.
Yay!
And is a must hear, must watch, must listen. Yes. So David Brooks says, the problem is we think in individual terms, and that leaves us with no guidance at all. What do you mean no guidance at all? No, apparently Brooks either didn't read Ayn Rand or didn't understand Ayn Rand. But I mention it because the philosopher Michael Leibowitz, the podcaster Michael Leibowitz, asked an interesting question on Facebook recently. And he got mostly good answers, too. He says, let me see if I can find it here. Oh, where did I put that in my notes?
It was about the virtues.
Yeah, he asked, besides Ayn Rand's 7 virtues and 3 values, besides the obvious answers, what traits do you find necessary for flourishing on Earth? I thought, that's great, because Amy and I can answer that one during our show. But we had recently done a show called The Other 7 Virtues.
Yes.
And going through Ayn Rand's journals, which, of course, were published as a book, the journals of Ayn Rand, she, in preparing her book on individualism, she was going to publish before Atlas Shrugged. Didn't happen, so you had to wait for OPAR. But she identified 9 virtues, and I say the other 7 because we're all familiar with there being 7 in Atlas Shrugged, and 2 of the 9 overlap with the 7 virtues in Atlas Shrugged. So the other 7 virtues of Ayn Rand. Now listen to this list. And then think about David Brooks and Alistair McIntyre and all those who say the problem is we're too individualistic. Here's Ayn Rand's 7 virtues from her journals. Number 1, honor. Number 2, courage. Self-confidence, strength, love of freedom, sense of justice, self-respect.
Yeah.
Ayn Rand was not the caricature of individualism that people like David Brooks and perhaps McIntyre would say, would believe, would claim. She understood that there is a role of honor in human life. That a commitment to one's moral values is not the kind of pragmatism that we see, for example, in today's administration that says, well, somebody wants me to do something and I promised to do it, or I'm responsible for doing it, or it's my job to do it. There's nothing in it for me at the moment. No, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. This is not catch as catch can, expedience the moment cynicism that, dog eat dog, crawl over dead bodies, blah, blah, blah. What people like this Brooks guy is coming at with.
Yes. Yeah, he says each of these social roles, he talks about social roles. Each of these social roles comes with certain standards of excellence, a code to determine what they ought to do. And he's talking about this dense network of family, tribe, city, nation, as if he can't imagine a complex network of relationships working without this infernal, duties, basically duties, a network, a web of duties that you should do because you should do them because they've always worked before, and who are you to think for yourself about how you're going to handle your relationships?
Yeah, duty ethics that have to be arbitrarily foisted on the community. Otherwise, no one's going to be moral because no one has a brain. No one has the capacity to reason. Nobody has the capacity to think through things or to question what moral code that they have and what the definitions are and how it applies to their lives. Oh, no, nobody has that. This guy is, this is just the same old garbage that we've been fed for so long. I'm tired of it.
So ask yourself this, especially if you are an admirer of Ayn Rand, and doubly especially if you regard yourself as an objectivist. Are you willing to go down with the ship if you have promised to do that, or at least to fight it out until the very end? Where would you be on the Titanic? Now, I know the ethics of emergencies and nobody can say what you should do. But are you willing to act on the basis of loyalty? Are you willing to keep a promise even if the situation has changed and you just don't feel like honoring that vow anymore? Are you willing to exhibit loyalty? Are you willing to exhibit honor? Because I don't think those concepts belong to the David Brooks and the Alistair McIntyres of the world. I think those concepts belong to the most rational, the most self-interested people on earth. So what I would add to the list of virtues would be loyalty and honor and benevolence and passion. We should have that. We should have these traits that people would claim a self-interested person cannot exhibit, that the David Brookses of the world can't in a million years understand why a rationally self-interested person would embrace. I have stuck with jobs where in my short-term self-interest, if I didn't care about my honor or self-respect or reputation, I should have walked out on before I did. But they were jobs that needed to be completed, and I completed them. And I have taken such actions throughout my life. I'm not saying I've been perfect in everything that I've ever done. I'm not making that claim. But yes, I absolutely understand why honor and loyalty matter. And it's bizarre to me that anybody would claim that rational self-interest would brush those things aside. Those things make your life better, not worse.
God. His next sentence in his next paragraph is, by being excellent at my role, I contribute to the city that formed me.
The city that formed you. You didn't build that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you didn't build that. So this guy can't, choose his own standards. They're just formed by society within him. He can just sit back and relax and say, "Oh, form me, and I'm so excellent after that." Does this person introspect? Does this person see that he has a rational faculty and volition? Does he understand how dangerous and damaging and abusive it is to present this kind of moral code to children, to young people, to tell them that they have no choice, that they're just cogs in the machine, I suppose? It's just, this is nuts.
It's kind of the same thing you get with a religious upbringing, and I'm sure there's overlap there, where people will say, well, sure, in religion, there are ways that it can go awry. You can be burdened, for example, with guilt or original sin. You can, remember all the time that you are a dirty, filthy, rotten sinner. But what it gives you in exchange for that is so good. And that's because they can't imagine what it is like to actually have a rational moral code. Mm-hmm. They can't imagine that you can have the baby without the dirty bathwater.
Right.
They don't imagine that you can have honor and loyalty and camaraderie and benevolence without the hooey, without the nonsense.
Yes.
Now, folks know one of my personal motto is we are surrounded by miracles, not least of which is ourselves. That I experience a daily overwhelm of gratitude for everything around me, because I realize that I am surrounded by manufacturing and products and technology and innovations and science and education and things which in a million years I could not have produced on my own. I live in constant gratitude. And so it would be insane for anybody to say, oh, those self-interested people don't appreciate what has been built around them. The structures of a city, the infrastructure, but the processes and the businesses and all those people out there doing their things. You don't appreciate any. Believe me, I appreciate all of it. And the idea that understanding, that constant feeling of gratitude is incompatible with individualism, with rational self-interest, to me it's the exact opposite. If you don't hold a rational ethics based on rational self-interest, with your own first-hand thinking, your own rationality at the core, you can't properly appreciate that network of people and effort and resources and all of the things that surround you, much less create it all.
Yes.
Play your part, your role in being part of that miracle. No, Brooks is absolutely wrong, but less so in the specifics and more in his overall philosophy, his overall way of understanding the source of material prosperity, which is the individual human mind.
As Howard Rourke would, to paraphrase Howard Rourke a little bit, just as a society cannot actually form my own personal moral standards, so as I cannot, digest the food of somebody else. It has to be individual. The idea of saying that individualism is somehow damaging is insane. It's absolutely insane. And I hope he seeks some help. I don't know. I mean, even on the level of self-help, where people go out and they say, "Oh, I have a problem here. I need a therapist. I need some self-help books. I need to do some journaling," whatever it may be. They have to do that themselves. Those ideas, and those ideas that might better their lives, have to be processed individually. And no one else can do it for them. And oh my gosh, I mean, there has to be a book, and I'm hoping that someday an objectivist psychologist will write this. Maybe Gina Gorlin, or maybe even Jean Maroney, or maybe Ellen Kenner. But we have to start comparing and contrasting ideas that are out there in the world right now with political and ethical ones. Psychological ideas that are, for the most part, life enhancing, life affirming to what we're actually believing on, an ethical and political, what people put out like this. There's some contradictions going on here, and it needs to be resolved.
Yes. So I happen to be looking at the chat on the Facebook side of things. Narendra says, well, it's 4 a.m. He's all alone. There's no society yet. That's the miracle of time zones, or the misfortune of time zones, that when Narendra joins us live, it's more or less early morning.
Yes. Good morning.
So thank you for being here. And Joseph says, I need to read Opar. Absolutely, you need to read Opar. Ironically, or curiously, he says, nowhere I can find it for cheap. If you were in Southeast Michigan, we could drop copies of it in your lap. There are funny,
we have so many
funny stories we've told. We've won in various we won a copy in the Ayn Rand trivia contest. We were given a copy for some event. We just got all these copies of Opar.
We won the talent show. We got an Opar.
Yeah, but you can, I believe you can find it online if you're determined not to pay for it.
Go to aynrand.org. Send them a message and say you want a free one, and they'll probably
they
send
will
it to
send
you.
you one. Yeah, they send free books out all the time.
Yes,
mostly for a teacher's program, but I suspect they would send you one.
No, they do it individually, I do believe.
Yeah, go for that, and you could probably find it online at archive.org as well. But yeah, there are ways to read it out there. On the other hand, it's given the value of the book, it's a trivial, even if they're hitting you up for 20 or 30 or 40 bucks at Amazon. I have no idea what it actually costs. I bought it when it came out, and the pricing would have been way different back then. But yeah, we've got copies here if you're in Southeast Michigan.
Yeah, so you can get Objectivism, the Philosophy of Ayn Rand in many different ways, I think.
Jim says, stop holding back, Amy.
Yeah, you can get it on Kindle for $16. Audiobook is $28, or for whatever it is for Audible.
Yep.
Paperback for $17.99 and a hardcover for $30.
Oh, $17. Yeah, that's cheap.
Yep.
I mean, considering what's in the book, considering what it is worth to you.
Yeah, that's right.
Is,
yes, but yeah, let us remember that a moral code cannot come from society, and it cannot come from a supernatural entity or a god or a deity.
Yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't work that way.
Yep.
Even if you wish it to be, it doesn't.
Matthew reminds us, The Gilding Age is from the same producers as Downton Abbey. I did not know that. Original plan was for it to be a prequel with young Cora before she met Robert. I've never watched Downton Abbey, so you know who those people are, but I don't.
Oh, I'd have to take a look and remember. It's been a while.
They moved away from this idea. Interesting. I didn't know there was originally supposed to be a connection there. And Jim says, and this is interesting, Jim says, when I talk or write about ethics, rather than using the word morals, I use morality. To me, morality is a mindset which you possess 24/7, maintain, and apply to your life. But morals, to me, implies a list of rules to be memorized and recited, but not necessarily understood. The 10 Commandments are just that. That's interesting, and I can see how some people would take it that way. I've gotten to the point where I use morals and ethics simultaneously, synonymously, and I have to be aware when I do that, if I'm having a conversation or online, not everybody does. Because I will get people who will correct me and say, morals and ethics aren't the same thing at all. And then I have to ask them, well, okay, tell me how you're using those words.
Right.
I'm never going to argue with somebody, I'm rarely going to argue with somebody about their usage, their definitions. Mm-hmm. What I want is for them to tell me what they are. So, for example, aesthetics, and art. I'll get into a discussion where somebody says, well, I don't think aesthetics is what you think it is. Oh, well, you tell me how you're using the word.
What is your context?
And I'll use it the way you're using it. I can do that. Most words have multiple definitions. So, yeah, that's good. If you find that clarifying, that's because you're right. You don't want ethics or morals to be commandments. You don't want it to be a list. So that's good.
Also, the word values. In some religious communities, values means
ethics.
Duty ethics. Family values.
Or even without that specific, like religious ethics or duty ethics.
Yes.
Values to an objectivist doesn't mean ethics. The purpose of ethics is to achieve your values. So yeah, it depends. Depends on when you talk to somebody. Find out how they're using the words, and it might be worth resisting, at least for the moment, because a lot of us do this. I've made the mistake too. It may be worth resisting the urge to demand that they accept your definitions. And I know why we do that. If you can get them to understand how you're using the words, it's much easier than to help them understand the point you're trying to make. If they, for example, would use the primary definitions Ayn Rand used, everything would be so much clearer and much more objective. I totally get that. And so that's why I experience that temptation, and I'm sure many of you do too. But in rhetoric, that's not always ideal. In conversation.
Yes.
Yes. I'm just looking to see what else is going on in the chat. I see Paul was late. Sorry you were late and missed the beginning, but there's always the rewind button at the end. You can go back and
yes.
Catch whatever you missed.
By the way, speaking of rewinding or fast forwarding, if you didn't catch last week's show when we were having a show in Boston, there was like a little 2-minute gap where the audio went really funny. So just
it does get better.
Hit the 30-second mark about 4 times, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, it does get better. But there was a brief period where I unmuted the studio version, and so it was overlapping and overlapping and overlapping and overlapping.
It was overlapping to infinity, and it sounded real cool.
But it was a good episode.
It was a great episode,
and it got a good view count too, which is nice. It was nice to see that a lot of people were interested in that. And I'm hoping our YouTube numbers will go up as we slowly get more and more people to switch from Facebook to YouTube, because Facebook, as I've mentioned before, is changing its policies and.
What is that?
Well, they only leave videos, live videos like this, up for a month.
Oh.
And then they just delete them. And the only downside there is then I can't check the view counts on those
that's right.
after the fact.
That's right.
So if we get 100 views on YouTube and 150 views we tend to get a little more on Facebook. Although I think Facebook counts lower engagement. Like you only have to watch a few minutes for it to count as a view. Whereas on YouTube demands more. And then add on the podcast. I should mention that to people because some people don't know. 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir is on YouTube, and that's where the ideal would be for everybody to watch it and subscribe. We got to get our subscription numbers up. We're still in the 300s, I think, and we need 1,000, for example, before some of the new features, additional features, things like Super Chat become available.
Yes.
But we also live stream to Facebook simultaneously, and we, as I say, we get more views on Facebook actually than we do on YouTube, although not as many of them are watching the whole show. And then we podcast. So we are on all the audio platforms, which incidentally is how I usually listen to the show afterward.
Yes.
To, not just because I'm a narcissist looking in the pond at my mirrored reflection, but to criticize myself as well and make sure that I'm not getting back in the habit of saying things like a lot or like or mumbling or...
We have Apple Music, I think...
Apple. We're on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, Apple Podcasts.
We're on Spotify. We're on all the podcast platforms. Google Podcast, whatever is out there.
Whatever's out there,
our syndication host sends it to all of them.
Yes.
So, the episode, yes. Remember from Miss Congeniality? Always yes, never yeah. So, yes, our view counts on YouTube, if you want to know how many people actually watch or listen to the show, you also have to add on the ones on Facebook and the ones on all the audio platforms. Point is, yes, Facebook's changing that. I'm encouraging folks who like, because it pops up on Facebook, it's really convenient, and then you can keep browsing around Facebook while you're listening. Yeah, that's great, but if you could, especially if you're on a computer and not a phone where it's easy to just open an extra window, YouTube is the place that helps us out the most. Speaking of helping us out the most, I should mention, since I'm talking about it, thank you to the patrons. Those of you who are on patreon.com/Robert Nasir and are contributing. We've got everything from a couple dollars a month to $40, $50 a month, and it's very kind, very generous, keeps this show happening, keeps us motivated and enthused, and keeps the lights on, which matters because we have studio lighting all across that you can't see, but it's what keeps us looking bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, except I'm not looking as bright. I'm a little too much tan. This
you got some sun.
I've been getting
in Boston.
a lot of sun.
This is as you see right here. This is my tan.
Usually about as tan as you get. You've been much tanner than that before. I'm going to post those Jamaica pictures again.
Oh well.
Yeah.
No.
I remember we actually went to the tanning salon for our honeymoon.
That's why I was more tan than normal. But I got there and I was like blindingly white.
Well, compared to those island girls. But who wants that?
Oh my gosh. People had to put on 2 pairs of sunglasses when they saw me.
Yes. So do like the show, do share the show, do subscribe to the channel, but especially thank you to the patrons. If you want to join them, patreon.com/Robert Nasir, or just go to robertnasir.com, scroll to the bottom of the page and find links to all of that.
Yeah. I have a list of things to say.
So yes, you said you had a lot to say, and I even made that the show title, Amy Speaks.
By the way.
So what has been on your mind?
Gosh. Well, first of all, I want to start off with, I had promised a friend that on our podcast, which I completely forgot about in Boston, that I was going to do the cat dance and show you how to. So if you...
I saw a bit of that out on the dance floor.
Yeah, if you are on the dance floor and you really don't know what to do, you can do the cat dance. And it's so easy. What is
the cat dance?
You fashion your hands like this, like as if they were paws.
Paws.
And then you do this to the music. And then you come over here and do a little bit of that. And do a little of that. And maybe down below. A little bit down below. And if you really want to get wild, what you do is you look as if you're licking your own paw. You go, and then you go like this.
That's the cat dance. Now, I've actually seen you do the cat dance.
Yes.
And not just you, in which there was a ball of yarn involved.
That's really the most fun I've ever had on a dance floor. We brought a ball of yarn, and me and my drummer Matt, we were on a dance floor and we were doing the cat dance, and we just kept flinging the ball of yarn everywhere, and it was intertangling amongst all the people on the dance floor. Oh my God, that was the most fun in the world.
I don't usually like the expression "you had to be there," but if this sounds absurd to you,
and everyone's dancing with the ball of yarn, with the yarn all around them,
it got quite tangled up, didn't it?
It got really tangled. It was second only to trampoline karaoke, which is another invention of mine.
Trampoline karaoke was pretty damn good. And we've done that one more than once. We bought a trampoline just so we could do trampoline karaoke.
Yes. So ball of yarn cat dancing is, there you are, the world. There is your new trend.
Like you're using the world as an object in that sentence. The
world.
There you are, the world.
Okay, so our friend Greg is going to New Orleans OCON. So next year, I think it's June 26th to the 30th, is OCON in New Orleans, and we're going to be there.
Jim, you've got to stop making excuses. You keep saying, well, here's what he wrote. Though there is no commandment forbidding me to sing, it would still be unethical for me to sing in public. I have run karaoke parties. We have run karaoke parties in private, in public, at conferences, as wedding receptions. We have run every kind of karaoke party, and because we've done that, we have heard every level of
We've heard it
singer.
all.
From the tippy top to the absolute dregs. And even if you belong with the absolute dregs, you should be singing.
Yes, you should.
You should be singing.
You know, and again, with karaoke, you can have other people singing with you simultaneously. So,
yes, showing you up. No, making you feel more comfortable. Yes. So you can keep saying that, and I'm going to keep saying pshaw.
So Greg is joining us. Steve joined us last in Boston. That was a great fun. So we have some glowites, some glowists coming.
Yes.
A couple things here is that ARI. So if you go to Tal Savani's talk on the Ayn Rand Institute YouTube page, he talks about a number of things, including the Atlas Circle, which has nothing to do with the Atlas Society, but it's basically
the Atlas Circle.
Yeah, it says the Atlas Circle leverages the power of Ayn Rand's moral framework to provide business leaders with actionable guidance for tackling their most pressing intellectual challenges in today's ideological battlefield. That's a mouthful. But so I mean, if you go to atlascircle.com, you'll see all kinds of articles and things like that. I don't exactly know. I mean, what more it does. Maybe
it's interesting because Tal's talked about how some people say, that is so vague. Anyway, some people have said, who I've actually heard in real life, well, what the objectivists need to do is they need to get people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, and they need to talk to these business people. And so Tal has explained, well, I don't think they've talked to Musk, but we've talked to many high-level business people, and they are interested in the practical application of these ideas. So the new initiative here, the Atlas Circle should help with that. Right. They've now got resources they can point people to, where they don't have to wait until they can get lunch with Tal and talk about this stuff.
Yes, and there's also ARI live courses, formerly Ayn Rand University, or ARU.
Yes, the Ayn Rand University is evolving.
Objectivist Academic Center, AOC.
So it's now ARI live courses, and yes, you can take courses. They used to differentiate between auditors and students, and they don't anymore. You just sign up and you do the stuff, and if you want to be an auditor, just listen, consume the material, work on your own. If you want to be a student, you can do the assignments and have them graded. And
they'll grade you. If you do the homework, they'll grade you.
Yeah.
Basically there's separate courses. There's no track like prescribed program you have to be on. You can take one, then you can take another, and 2 years later you can take another. So it's not and also there's one particular. It says the Master of Arts in Objectivist Studies, I think.
They're actually having a master's program, and it will be accredited.
Yeah, and that's cool.
Yeah, Harry Binswanger was saying on the HBL meeting of the minds this morning, I don't really care about the accreditation thing. He doesn't I don't know what the value of that is, which I thought was kind of strange, because to me that was the best thing that could happen to ARU would be for at least one of its programs to become accredited.
Yes.
Because that means you could transfer your credits to a university.
Yes.
And, there are always going to be a certain number of people who are going to say, oh, I never heard of that school. Is that an accredited program? Mm-hmm. It actually matters whether you think it should or not. So I thought that was awfully cool that, they'll have a master's program that you can get, that you can be in.
They gave us an invitation. It says, you are cordially invited to the grand opening of the Ayn Rand Center, the new home of the Ayn Rand Institute, September 2nd, 2028.
Yeah, if you saw the initial video about the Ayn Rand Center, this very cool building that they're building with great resources, and it's going to be awesome. And you thought, I wonder if that's actually going to happen, because, it's a couple of years off, and it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of money. Well, not only has the building already been designed, but since then, one of their large contributors has purchased the property adjacent, so they're now expanding it. They're going to have an Ayn Rand garden, and they're going to have an Ayn Rand experience.
So, I don't know if it's speaking of the Titanic, you mentioned it. So if you've ever been to the Titanic exhibit, the museum exhibit, you pay to go in. They basically give you a name of a person who was on the ship, and then you go through the exhibit, and at the very end, they tell you if you lived or not.
Yeah. Are you one of the 1,500 survivors, or yes. Are you one of the 1,000 people like Astor who went down?
Yeah, and I don't know all the details. Let me know if you do in the chat, but basically they kind of give you an anthem-like name, like Solidarity 213, whatever, and then you go through the experience. So it's sort of like an interactive, museum experience on that level.
Do they like take off your clothes and put you in a potato sack or some drab outfit? Because given Jim's comments in the chat, he wants me to take off my shirt. So
God.
We could put on anthem clothing and have that number stamped on the shirt like a prison uniform.
Yeah, and one of the things about museums that they need to be accessible to people. So that's probably not. Also, shout out to Audrey Hilsey and Brandon Lisi.
Audra's awesome.
Oh gosh, and
Brandon's awesome.
Yeah. So these were a couple of things that we took away from when we went to OCON.
We weren't supposed to, but we took them anyway.
No, we were supposed to.
I'm kidding. I'm only kidding.
So, and by the way, if you're watching, we got one for you. So, since you were there. But the exhibit that Audra guided us through was amazing. I'm going to have to post photos on Facebook pretty soon. But these are lovely. Oh my gosh. Oh, by the way, when we go to New Orleans, we're going to be possibly accessing the building where Ayn Rand had her last lecture in person before she passed away. I think she did the Sanction of the Victim to a group of businessmen in New Orleans. I don't know. I forget what building that was exactly, but yeah, I talked with Audra, and that was on the list of things to do.
Yeah, that's going to be a good day trip.
Yeah, and also this is when we were talking about this on our last podcast, this is a little show and tell of what the wonderfully sweet, industrious, resourceful, brilliant Linda Cordair gave us as a little gift. Prelude to Pleasure by Quentin Cordair, who is now finishing his third installment of, what is it called?
Oh, Idolatry.
Yes.
Folks who have read Idolatry parts 1 and 2 and have been waiting for part 3, he is working on it and apparently very near completion. So it is coming, and apparently coming soon.
That is right. So, what else? Oh, at some point, I think Augustina Sid's talk on immigration is going to come out. I asked her, what organization, if you're interested in supporting an organization specifically about immigration, who should we go to? And she recommended American Immigration Council. So look up American Immigration Council, send them some money, or volunteer with them. They're doing great work. So what else here? One other thing that I need to do on my list this week is reach out to people that I saw at OCON that I didn't have enough time with, because we were just zooming in and out and everywhere all the time, and it was really hard to get and sit down and have a developed, deep intellectual conversation with anybody, which we should have planned it better, but that didn't really happen. So we're going to be reaching out to people who we saw at OCON. Let's see here. And also I'm going to be sending out a list of do's and don'ts for if you're going to New Orleans anytime, really, because it's just about hot anytime except maybe January. How to dress, what you should buy, what you can do to keep cool. And,
yeah, it's going to be hot, but not crazy hot. No. End of June is nothing like August. It could be worse.
No, we went in August.
No, it's going to be good.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think
it's hot all over America right now. It couldn't be any worse in New Orleans.
Yeah. It's
hopefully next summer will be a little cooler. Equal to Reality says, I got some sun yesterday as it was so hot and sunny. Is it hot and sunny over in England as well? It's just that kind of, global warming's finally catching up with us. And Jason Adams is quoting the Love Cats. I don't know why.
Well, the Love Cats is a song by The Cure. And I know it very well.
But I guess we said something that triggered that.
Well, it's the cat dance.
Oh, cat dance, of course. What am I? Of course, I should have made that connection right away. Well, thank you for that.
Well, it says it's only 70 degrees Fahrenheit in London right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, let's go to London.
Well, although it's like almost midnight there, so.
Oh, yeah, at this time of day.
Okay, it was high about 82 today.
Oh, jeez. I wish we had highs of only low 80s.
That'd be nice.
It's been a crazy summer. Oh,
yes.
Whatever. Narendra says, I agree to the accreditation, it matters. Well, Narendra is a teacher, so he would know about that, all things education. And there we go.
Yeah, does anybody play cribbage? I don't. Do you, Stephen? I don't know what cribbage. I'd have to look that up. Cribbage.
Yeah.
Maybe people in.
So Jason had questions earlier. Let's see. In real life, we long for super weapons and police that spare life, quickly immobilizing someone so they can be delivered to face justice. In fantasy, do you want superheroes to do the same, or do you prefer the ones who enact their own vengeance? Well, that's a bit of it's a trick question, an easy question, because as soon as you use the word vengeance rather than justice, then it's an easy answer. Yeah, I don't want superheroes who enact vengeance. I don't ever want vengeance to be part of justice, because that right there implies non-objectivity and injustice. Your anger, your lust for retribution should never be part of justice. And when you read the books or listen to interviews, for example, by soldiers, the best soldiers are not the ones who are angry and talk about how much they hate the enemy. The best soldiers are dispassionate. Now, I do agree, for example, with Yaron Brook, who says it's ridiculous that superheroes don't kill. That you have, Batman will never kill the Joker. He will never kill anybody. And I think Superman's like that too, but I thought Batman was the one who was explicit about it. Most of the superheroes are like that. And yeah, I absolutely disagree with that. There are times when the bad guy has to be killed if there's to be justice and safety and security and all the things that you want. But the way the question is phrased, no, I absolutely don't want vengeance. I do want justice. As for when technology gets to the point where you can immobilize people at will without harming them and just put them in jail, that'll be great. It will be a mixed blessing like every kind of weapon, as every weapon can be misused. So imagine, for example, if our immigration service got a hold of that weapon. Would they use it to, then transport these immobilized people to a place where they can then receive due process and figure out whether they even deserved that? And if they didn't, would they get compensation for the way they were mistreated?
Right.
Or would it just be a tool for the administration to continue doing the wrong things?
Yes.
So there, it's not so much a question of the technology, better technology, great. It's a question of what you do with it. And as far as in fantasy, I tend in fantasy to want the same things I want in reality, maybe just amped up, done better, but not amped up from justice to vengeance, if that answers the question. I don't know if you have a different slant on that, Amy, but that's what I think.
Yeah, as long as there's due process, as long as there's access to an attorney, as long as you have your Fifth Amendment rights. Yeah.
There you talk about immigration, not superheroes.
Yeah, I mean, in general, though, immigration and in a criminal situation.
Yep.
Or a police situation. Yeah.
Yep. And Stephen's mentioning cribbage. I don't even know what cribbage is. I know it has like this wooden board and pegs, but somehow there's also playing cards. I have no idea what that is. All I can say is, if you're enjoying it, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
It's a card game, traditionally for 2 players, though it can be adapted to 4. It involves scoring points with cards and racing pegs around a cribbage board.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep, and that's all I know about it. I've seen some of the posts online about it, and I don't understand any of the language. It's entirely foreign to me. It would be like, well, it would be like a foreign language, or somebody confronting. It would be like taking a rock and roll guitarist and putting sheet music in front of him.
Right.
A little inside musician joke there. So yes, absolutely. So what else did you really want to be sure to bring up?
That was it.
That was all the good stuff. Okay.
That was all the good. I mean, we do have the Objectivist's Guide to the Galaxy.
We have the Objectivist's Guide to the Galaxy. You've heard of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Well, what about the Objectivist's Guide to the Galaxy? It now exists. You can go to Amazon and buy it. We bought it in person, so our copy is signed by the author.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I mentioned previously, this is my planner, my day timer for the week of OCON. And every one of those entries that you see there was something significant. It was a heck of a week. So if you are still wondering, well, should I go to OCON in New Orleans? Would that be worth it? The short answer is yes. The long answer is yes. The long answer, yeah. This is the after OCON, so we had some fun with that. We went to Salem, Massachusetts, after everybody else had already gone home, because I think they were too scared to go to the Satanic Temple and the Witches Museum.
Oh, thanks for reminding me. Okay, so we went to the Satanic Temple. No, they don't worship Satan. No, Satan doesn't actually exist, just so you know. So don't be scared. But they're an organization that basically they employ lawyers and other people and other volunteers to uphold our First Amendment rights, free speech, and they do it in a very funny way. And one of the for those states where they have outside of their state capitals the 10 Commandments or other things like that, they will come in and try to install some kind of statue of Baphomet, for instance, the goat man, and maybe I think there was also a military kind of installation that they put together, and you know they're very. If you read their 7 tenets, so if you go to their website or look it up on Wikipedia, their 7 tenets are sort of like be nice to people and use reason. And then respect other people's freedoms and so on and so forth. That's basically it. So, and they also have a lot of advocacy for reproductive rights as well. And they're basically using the laws of the freedom of religion to try to get around a lot of these laws that are banning the rights of women in that regard. So. It's interesting.
And I can tell you that the people in Salem, Massachusetts actually were more pleasant than the people in Boston.
Oh, yes.
Boston's one of those cities where, well, I'll tell you this. We're broadcasting live from Studio Nasir in Motown, just outside the city of Detroit. And that puts us squarely in the Midwest. The Midwest not being a geographical description, but a area of the United States, which is actually east of the Mississippi, but go figure. And people talk about Midwestern hospitality. Probably, a little more reserved than Southern hospitality, but people in the Midwest are cheerful and kind and smile, and there was less of that in Boston. I'll just say there was noticeably less of that in Boston. I don't know how many restaurants we went to, including some really nice restaurants, where you just had the impression the wait staff didn't want to be there. They weren't surly, they weren't angry or mean, they just weren't pleasant. And,
they were...
And they took a long time between coming to your table and doing anything, serving you or offering you anything. Or
like water.
I don't mean to exaggerate it. It was a subtle difference, but...
It was, they've got their own personality about them.
But the point is, when we took a day trip to Salem, Massachusetts, they were much nicer.
Oh, so much
just
nicer.
Noticeably more pleasant. So
much more pleasant, much more talkative.
Maybe it's just a big city thing.
I don't know.
Boston's a really big city.
I think that in Boston, there's a real tension there. Actually, Paul in the chat, when I talked to you, Paul, you mentioned the word tension. I'm like, you know what? That's right. That's the word. And it's almost like there's, I would just say, I mean, even like a political tension, even it would go down that deep. You've got the, the first, what was it? The first town that was freed from British colonialism, I think that's how that works. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you have a lot of the, you've got the Museum of the Boston Tea Party. You've got all sorts of references to the founders, references to the Revolutionary War, all of that. And Boston itself and Massachusetts is so highly regulated, and it's very strange. If you go to like a website of a community center in Michigan, you know what? You got the basics. It's really nice. You got all sorts of stuff. You got swimming pools and things like that. If you go to that in Boston, you go to the municipal whatever it is in Boston, all they talk about is how precious our community is. Community. That's all. All of our children are a community, and I'm like, gosh, this is, I don't know. It's a very staid and repressed kind of thing. That's how I felt about it. And I know that there are a lot of Catholics in Boston as well, so that may be having to do with it. But it's a strange town. Yeah.
It's strange. It is strange. And
yeah, it takes a village, Greg. Takes a village, yeah. It takes a Viking to raise a village.
Yeah. Paul says, yes, there is tension. Actually, it's from a good friend of mine who has been to Boston many times, who gave me the term.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't notice it being that tense or anything. Just again, just a feeling that
there's no passion.
Well,
I don't know.
It was just a feeling that when you meet a stranger, there is no presumption of kinship or pleasantry.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It was interesting. Greg says Mark Pellegrino will be disappointed to learn he doesn't exist. Well, he hasn't existed in a while because that series,
ended.
Ran its course. And so is Mark still God, or the devil rather? Is he still Lucifer? I don't know.
Yeah, speaking of Mark Pellegrino, he's heading up the Irreplaceable Spark Conference that's all out in Orange County, California in late October. And there is a $100 off a ticket or something like that. It's valid until 2 days from now. So if you want to go to the objectivism.co.uk/tickets or Irreplaceable Spark Conference, look it up. You can get that and claim that offer.
Right.
FYI.
Excellent. Yes, sign up now. It's this fall, so it's not that far away.
Right.
Good stuff. So, we got more comments coming in real quick here. Brian says, in the Batman series, Batman recognizes he is acting as a vigilante, so he consciously avoids being judge, jury, and executioner. But in most situations, justice demands the death of the villain. That's a good point, since he is a vigilante.
He is.
Yeah.
Although in some iterations,
I guess that warrants some extra concern.
My favorite iteration of Batman is Batman the Animated Series, and he's pretty much working with the commissioner. I think that they pretty much get along. In some other iterations and movies, they don't get along. They're antagonistic.
Yep. So, if that covers everything, I hope we didn't miss too many important questions in the chat. And yes, Narendra, you and Jim do have your own satanic temple. I know what you mean by that. And every once in a while, Narendra just disappears from Facebook for a month because of that satanic behavior, I'm sure. It's because of your guilt. Look at this. Look at that.
Guilt. Oh, no.
Okay, this is not really my post-it note of the week, but I was listening to one of those previous shows I mentioned where we talked about other virtues, honor and loyalty, and the topic of guilt came up, and we've never done an episode on guilt. So I don't know, maybe we need a guilt episode. I'm thinking about that. The proper role of guilt
that's going to be
in one's life.
That would be very interesting. I'd have to do some research on that because, yeah.
The thing is, what I want to end with, as we're running way over 5 minutes, or even our usual amount of time, Amy, you posted or shared from the Facebook group Tiny Buddha.
Yes.
Which is hilarious to me. Little bits of Buddha wisdom there.
Little tiny Buddha. You have to have your little pinky out to rub his belly.
Yes. If you rub the Buddha's belly, he will pee on your hand. No, he will bring you good luck. And the cute meme picture that you shared said,
yes,
to protect our inner peace, we must learn to observe and not absorb.
Yes.
I thought, well, that's really woo. But then I thought, well...
No, I got it right away.
You do need to be able to take in the news, as one example, without becoming convinced that what's in the news is the world.
Right.
Much less your world.
Yes.
You need to be able to, for example, to keep one eye on politics without thinking, well, that's really defining the world. So whatever's happening in politics, that's the state of things, and that's what I'm up against. No, it's not. Let me tell you something really tragic. There is a concept, and there's a whole Wikipedia page on it, you'll see it in the show notes, called suicide by pilot.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
And it's a list of all the airplane pilots who have killed themselves deliberately while flying a plane.
Oh.
Yeah, I think the worst case was just a few years back, a guy, was it in the UK, who wanted to kill himself and wanted to go out big, so he took a whole airplane, what was it, 150 people, into the side of a mountain.
Oh.
Well, there's some question about the recent Air India flight. Apparently, the fuel switches for that airplane were turned off. And they're locking switches. You'd have to do it deliberately and not just bump them. Ooh. Both the left and right engines, those switches were turned off shortly after takeoff, were off for about 10 seconds while one pilot asked the co-pilot, why did you turn the fuel switches off? And the other pilot answered, I didn't do that. So they turned the fuel switches back on, but not in time to stop the crash. And as you know, if you read about it, everybody except for one passenger died in that crash. And they are not calling it yet suicide by pilot. They're not saying, yeah, we know it was intentional, but it's kind of hard not to reach that conclusion.
Whew.
And you read about that and you think, oh man, we just flew back from Boston and, we're going to fly to New Orleans. Maybe we should drive. And then you run the numbers and you realize, wait a minute, that doesn't happen. What do you mean it doesn't happen? It happened. No, I mean it doesn't happen in any numbers that are significant to the whole concept of air travel. It's still the safest way to travel. But it's real. It's out there. It was in the news. Maybe we should drive to New Orleans. And the same thing is true. What happens in Washington, D.C. has a much bigger impact than the craziness of one particular airplane pilot, but it's still a very, very small part of what happens in the world. There's no other way to explain what you see when you go into a grocery store, when you go into a department store, when you go into a luxury goods mall, and say, oh my gosh, all of the good things in the world are still happening.
Yes.
Washington, D.C. has made a couple things more expensive. They might even do some real damage. But my life, my world, my friends, my people, my family, what's happening in sports, what's happening in music, I could go on for an hour like this, is relatively unaffected. Taylor Swift still has $1.6 billion, which, by the way, if it was redistributed to everybody in the United States, would barely buy a Filet-O-Fish sandwich for each one.
But I'm entitled to my Filet-O-Fish sandwich.
Yes. So when you put up that meme, I'm like, that's got to be the Post-it note for the week. Post-it note for the week says, observe, don't absorb.
Nice. And you know what I wanted to write about that? Well, first of all, let me just say that I told a friend recently she was afraid of flying. And I said, on an average day, there are approximately 3 million airline passengers flying in the United States. 3 million people up in the air per day. That's pretty awesome. I love that, actually.
That's inconceivable.
There's supported by over 45,000 flights across the national airspace system. It's insane. It's an insane amount. My gosh. But what I wrote on to protect our inner peace, we must learn to observe, not absorb. I said, yeah, I had to use this recently. I have to remember that I live in a universe that I call my own, that I have the power to curate, and that I need to keep it separate from the lives of awful people. So yes, observe, be objective, but don't mix that malevolent life in with your own benevolent life.
And I mean, if I was going to put this into objectivist terms, I might say something like, well, we never had to take any of it seriously, did we? Don't take it to heart. Life is good. If it's not, make it good. Yes, you can do that no matter what else is going on out there. If you run out of ideas on how to make that happen, reach out to us on the socials or tune again next week, Sunday, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, folks. Thank you for joining us. This has been 5 minutes or so with Robert and Amy Nasir and you. And we thank you for joining us. Anything more you want to say?
That's it.
Then I'm going to wish you all the success that you so richly deserve. I know you deserve it, because people who don't deserve success don't stick around this long to listen to, watch, and enjoy a show like this, much less contribute to our Patreon at patreon.com/Robert Nasir. And that is why, to all of you, whether you've liked, whether you've shared, whether you've subscribed, whether you've become a patron of the show, doesn't matter. We're going to wish you success. We're going to wish you flourishing. And we do wish you love.